He's not a guy that's gonna, run, and he's not a mobile quarterback. You just want to make sure that arm is still there and it still looks like it has as much pop as it ever had. And so as long as that's the case, I could see him playing for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, he's showing no signs of slowing down. In fact, some
Exactly.
could argue he's actually starting to hone and kind of craft his game even more now as these last 2, 3 years have kind of developed. You better protect him if you expect him to play at this high level these next 3, 4, 5 years. And if that means you got to go draft another interior lineman in the first round, so be it. But he needs protection up front if you expect him to play at this high level for the next 4 or 5 years. But I think he can do it if he does have that protection up front. He's got that clean pocket to step into, because I think a lot of fans would agree with you, Reg. He's got one of the more accurate beauty of a deep ball. Intermediate routes as well are very good. We know Mike Zimmer really kept the screws tight on him. He didn't let it loose, let it rip, take some shots, take some chances. Kevin O'Connell, this is going to look completely different this year going in. The other last note here on this list, Cousins the only Viking on the top 30, but honorable mentions. There wasn't 1, 2, 3, but 4 Vikings.
Wow.
Getting a little over the hill here. Adam Thielen at 32. Za'Darius is at 30, even though he's only technically 29. He turns 30 in September. Then you got Eric Kendricks and Harrison Smith. That's 4 core pieces. I mean, that's a huge part of your nucleus. Is the window closing here a little bit sooner and quicker than maybe fans realize?
What's interesting is when you talk to Kwesi at the start of free agency, he talked about having like a competitive rebuild, building for the present and the future. And I think the Vikings have a plan. They see these guys on this roster, aging out. And I think, they're trying to get the most production out of them right now. And then I think over the next few years, they're going to sign and draft some guys that replace them that are younger. And I think, they're going to continue to ride these, quote unquote, older guys out until, their production is just not where it needs to be. And then by the time that they do ride the older guys, the vets, until their wheels fall off, maybe they have already, signed or drafted their replacement, and they can just kind of push those guys in, maybe not at the same production level at first, but with the potential to get up to that level and still keep rolling enough to be in contention when you talk about the playoffs. And so I think, that was something that people raised their eyebrows. It was like, what? Competitive rebuild? What does that even mean? But I think as we kind of move forward and you kind of look at the makeup of this roster, I think that's something that you think about. You're like, oh, okay, maybe you could kind of start to get it, maybe where next season they do start to draft some pass rushers early. They do start to draft, some more skill position guys earlier on in the draft. I mean, look, you got Thielen. If you find another guy like Thielen, like that would be a steal. Like nobody really expected Adam Thielen to become what he's become. And now you're looking at him, 32 or whatever, he doesn't necessarily look like he's slowing down a bit, but Father Time is undefeated in that regard. And so, if he runs into an injury history, he runs into, any type of snag in his level of production this upcoming season, you've seen guys that they've taken that they're high on, like BC Johnson, and they drafted Naylor, and KJ Osborne's going to continue to improve, and guys like that. I think they feel like that they have kind of supplemented the team in a way that allows them to keep it moving and keep it moving in the future as well.
Some big shoes to fill, and a lot of shoes to fill here too, coming up quick. And you can't do it all in one offseason, obviously.
Right.
It'd be a dream if you just hit on every single draft pick. But even just this draft alone, he drafts Lewis Seen. Okay, so maybe you got your long-term plan replacement for Harry. And Brian Asamoah from Oklahoma, the linebacker. All right, maybe you got a backup for Eric Kendricks when that time comes. As far as Thielen goes, at least you got JJ and now KJ Osborne, 2 young guys, 25 and under, that can eventually start to take over a little bit as Adam Thielen starts to wear down a little bit as time continues to go on. So it's going to be interesting to see how next year's draft looks as well once you start to stack them up side by side and see how much they're really trying to plan for the future while also winning now. Find that creative balance, as Kwesi likes to say.